to OverBoost 47. OverBoost is a podcast interview series featuring discussions with speedrunners about their history in speedrunning and gaming and the runs they're passionate about. I'm your host, PMC Trilogy, and with me today is MattApocaalypse. Matt, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
I love to start these off with current events, and there is nothing more topical in speedrunning right now than SGDQ submissions, which were suddenly thrust upon all of us. I noticed via the magic of Twitter and social media that you have also submitted, and so
I did, yes.
I wanted to ask, because this is a question that I will often bring up in the script. If I can tell someone's interested in GDQ, I will ask the question: if you could get any game automatically in, what would it be? And so let's pretend the games committee is listening to this podcast. For me to watch or for me to play? For you to play, for a submission that you would run, because you submitted runs. So what submission do you most want to get in to the event?
Dark Souls 3 all bosses.
All bosses specifically?
Mm-hmm.
Now, is there any particular reason for that? It's just like your favorite run of the bunch?
It's kind of the run that people know me for the most. In addition to that, I think it's just one of the best speed runs around. That's why I ran it for so long. There's so many good things about it. Like, there's a good balance between action to good movement. The boss fights are all engaging. They're not all scripted. They're all very reactive, and the RNG is very minimal. Like, some people will complain. They'll be like, "Oh my god, I lost time to RNG," but like, you can negate the RNG with just good skill and playing well. Like, yeah, sure, you'll lose like maybe 3 to 5 seconds, but if you play well, you'll never be in a situation where you'll lose like 20 seconds. You know, that's what makes it such a good speed run. And the skips are awesome.
Yeah, so it sounds like it's one of those situations too where because you can manage things, you know, like the little bits of RNG and stuff like that, it's also ends up being a reliable marathon showcase as well.
Of course, yes. And there are so many ways to make it safe, and there are so many backups. And that's just through playing the game and like being knowledgeable on how to protect your run and how to keep it going.
And so it sounded like you actually had an answer for the other question you thought I might have been asking, which is are there other people that you're rooting for to get runs in? Is there anybody you're like, oh, you know, it'd be awesome if my buddy so-and-so got this in?
Of course, my buddy Fudge Cow and Dark Sassy. Have you heard of Dark Sassy?
I have not. Please tell me. Or is this a meme?
Dark Sassy is an amazing action RPG adventure. Very similar to Dark Souls. Like, you put them side by side, and it's a very similar looking experience. You should, if you have a second, you can Google what this game looks like. It's quite incredible.
Wait, how's this spelled? Oh no, is it SASI? Is that it?
Yes.
Okay. All right, I'm pulling up the Steam page right now. Oh, this looks like a real one.
And actually, like, something for me to watch, actually, I would love to watch Nier Automata ending. I think that speedrun is fantastic. I don't run it myself, but I love watching that speedrun, and I love that game, and I'm very excited for the Nier Replicant remake that's coming out.
That is coming out soon. That is. Yeah, I hope that delivers, because I feel like there's a lot of buzz around that, and like, we don't have too many games coming out right now, so I really hope people get good games. All right, well, let's go back in time then. I think we've shown enough there for right now. Where does gaming start for you? Where does that enter into your life? Are certain friends, family?
Well, my earliest memory of gaming was 1992, when I was a wee boy of the age of 2. I don't know if my father tried to get me to play the game any earlier than that, but I just remember playing Super Mario World with my dad at the time, 2 years old. The game's really simple. You just hold right and jump sometimes. I was unable to mechanically perform the fly input. So me trying to figure out how to beat this game without fly was eventually I got to the point where I learned that the blue Yoshi can fly if you eat a shell. So I worked my way through that game without the cape, which is like the best part of that game, by using the blue Yoshi. Because my hands could not perform the fly input at that age.
So wait, you were aware of it. It wasn't, you were completely ignorant of the existence of the cape. It was just...
Well, I watched my dad and my sister do the fly thing. I just couldn't get the timing down. So, because, my little 2-year-old fingers couldn't do the movements correctly.
Have you ever come back to the game to redeem?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
So for the longest time, my friends and I thought that 97 star meant that I was at 97% completion, and we kept replaying the game trying to figure out where the last 3% was until like about the 4th time we got 97%. We realized, because there was no internet, so you couldn't just look this up and be like, is this everything? So we were like really confused. We thought we missed dragon coins or something, and we finally just figured out like 97 star was 100% completion in that game.
No, that's an interesting point to bring up about like resources, because you're mentioning you really didn't have access to the internet when you're trying to figure this out with your friends at the time. But I can definitely remember, for example, like like original Pokemon, that even when you did have access to the internet, rumors. Yeah, right, video game rumors, right, like what was it like? There's if you can get the truck to move by the SSN or something like that.
That's how you get Mew, dude.
Yeah, absolutely, that's Mew, easy.
You gotta trade cut early, cut the thing, and then SSN with strength and surf. I don't know. I don't even remember how it works, but get surf early, go over there or something, and somehow there was no Mew.
There wasn't there. Have you been able to hold on to some of that original stuff that you grew up with, or is that Super Nintendo gone to the wind?
Yeah, I still have that Super Nintendo, and I have a lot of the games. I still have my original N64 that I grew up with. I never got to keep the PlayStation that I had. It was with my dad, and I don't know what he did with the PlayStation. I still have my PlayStation 2, so I still have that, and I still have my Xbox 360. So I kind of feel like a hoarder having all of it, because I don't really use a lot of it. Especially now, since I finally built a PC over the last year, and now all I care about is my PC gaming. I'm like a PC elitist now. I never thought I would be that, but here I am. It's a real quality improvement on gaming.
Yeah, the PC tends to smooth a lot of things out when you really have it all together. I'm not, that just ends up being like that. Now, so this is, Speedrun interviews. We're mostly going to be talking about single player games, as we mentioned earlier. Dark Souls 3 is a big one for you, but I'm always interested to ask, what have been big multiplayer games for you over time? And this can be anything like couch co-op, N64, League of Legends, Dota. What's been some big stuff for you in that way?
I used to be part of the fighting game community.
Ooh, FGC! Tell me more. That's how I got into
2014.
That's how I got into Twitch. I loved watching Marvel vs. Capcom.
That's how I got into Twitch.
Yeah.
I always watched Evo like from Justin TV days, and in between that, so I watched Evo like every year. That's the only tournament I knew about, because I think that was the one that's promoted the most.
Right.
Moment 37 and stuff. So I watched Evo every year, and then I didn't quite join the FGC till like way later. I got into League of Legends around like 2009 and played that game way too much for like a couple years. Quit on season 3, and then I just was working a lot, and I wasn't really gaming. I was playing music, and so I was focused on that. And then come 2014 is when I watched Evo again, and I was like, why don't I play fighting games? I love Street Fighter. I always played fighting games like casually. Like I did like arcade mode for Street Fighter. I played mashed buttons with my friends, and then I was like, had this like big idea. I was like, I'm going to join the FGC, and it was a great idea, but it was also a very time-consuming idea. I found out. I remember my first time I met up with my local fighting game community. I don't think I've lost that many games in a row of a fighting game before, like ever. But it was very eye-opening how good you could get at those games. Like And so instead, I could have just quit right there, but then I was like, nah. So I just grinded it out until I started, maybe winning 1 out of 20, and then I eventually started winning 1 out of 10, and then eventually I was winning more than I was losing, and it was a really good feeling. And I actually got to travel and do Evo, and I went to like NorCal Regionals. I've done like CEO, the one in Florida. Mm-hmm. I even lived in Northern California and did like some of the big local tournaments there, and I made a lot of friends in the fighting game community. So that's pretty much like what got me even started streaming on Twitch was fighting games.
That's cool. I had no idea coming into this. So certainly sometimes I have like, approached people because I know they have, connections, and I think it's interesting. I previously I've had, a few people who've gone to different Smash things like Xanadu and stuff like that. And also, DE Cosmic I've had on the podcast, who had done some Marvel stuff in the Delaware, Maryland area. But that's really, really neat that you got all that travel experience. Now, you mentioned briefly, you said Street Fighter. Was that your main thing, or were you mostly playing other games?
I was mostly playing Street Fighter. Okay. So I started in 2014. That was when Ultra Street Fighter 4 just dropped. Mm-hmm. And so I started there. Like, I had the vanilla Street Fighter 4, but I mean, it's outdated. So I updated. Everyone was really good at Street Fighter 4 because the game had been out for years. So I was really excited when Street Fighter 5 came out, because I was like, oh, it's a fresh start. We'll all be on the same level. And that's actually where I had my most success in the fighting game community, was with Street Fighter 5. I even made it out of my Evo pools that year. Ooh. And made it to second round, where I didn't make it farther, but I got in like the, I don't remember what it was. It was in the top percentage of Evo that year.
I mean, if you're making out of pools, you're certainly in some top percentage for sure.
Yeah. But like that was a really good year for me, and like I got to do a lot of traveling for fighting games that year, and meet a lot of friends, and it was a good time.
What were your big characters in Ultra and in 5?
Well, when Ultra dropped, I played the new character DeCapre, which everyone complained about because she was like cheap when she came out, which I love. I don't care about. I love playing top tier and cheap stuff. Tier. I mean, I speedrun, so I love the broken stuff. I love the quote unquote cheating.
And then what about for 5?
When the game came out, I played Chun-Li, and then I eventually played Cammy. And then, so I played Chun-Li, Cammy, I played Sakura and Ibuki. So like, if they had like a slight hint that they were maybe top tier, I would play them.
I mean, I'll tell you, I don't know if you're familiar with it, but I feel like all the time I have to share the Sanford Kelly video where he says pick a top tier, just to
pick a top tier.
Pick a top tier. Make the money work for you. So that's essential advice. Man, that's neat. I'm really and also just to hear all the experience traveling. Now, at this point, are you mostly out of that in terms of like regularly playing? Certainly, as you said, it's very time consuming.
Yeah, I don't. It's because I spend my time practicing speedrunning. I kind of stay away from it because practicing fighting games is like a lot. It's so much commitment, and so is speedrunning. So I guess what I've moved on to casually for multiplayer is just like Apex Legends and stuff, because it's really quick, it's straightforward, it can be in and out if I want to. So
yeah, no,
and I can just hang out with friends.
That's important too. I honestly feel like that's one of the. I don't know if you ever had like sounds like maybe PC gaming was later on for you, but like a thing I definitely miss is the sort of like pre-matchmaking era of PC gaming multiplayer, where you would hang out in public servers and like dedicated servers, and like you wouldn't have to worry about always being matched to people of similar skill level in both directions. Of course, sometimes you get stomped, sometimes you stomp other people, but you would often end up with the same group of people, and I kind of always think about that era very fondly. Here's a milestone question where we're kind of tracking your gaming history until we get up to the how did you learn about speedrunning question. But I always do like to ask, because at this point, we're adults with jobs and income and living situations and all that, and that means at some point you took ownership of your gaming hobby. It stopped being something that your family was sharing with you, as you mentioned, your father sharing the Super Nintendo, and it was like, nope, it turns out I have like 6 consoles and a gaming PC now, like that. And so somewhere along the way, do you feel like there was a milestone when you went out with your own money and either like bought a console for the first time, from a job, or bought like a PC? It sounds like maybe this is your first PC, so maybe a console. Do you have any milestone like that?
Well, kinda. I guess like when I started getting like expendable income, like whenever I was like, I used to live in a rural town, so we went to the like city to get groceries and stuff, and like go shopping and like have fun and stuff. And when we were in town, I was like, hey, Mom, can we stop at this used video game shop? I gotta browse, because I gotta look at the Super Nintendo games. I gotta look for a new Final Fantasy. I gotta get like a Squaresoft game or something, like a JRPG. Like I learned about Chrono Trigger, I learned about Final Fantasy 6, and that was like my thing for the longest time. I was like, I gotta play all the JRPGs, because that was just like so cool when I was when I don't even remember how old I was, probably like 11, 12, 13, somewhere around there is when I was like starting to spend money on just like games.
No, that sounds games. Right. So I guess from there then, I guess PlayStation like 1 and 2 stuff was still hot at that time, that you would have been spending your own money on the games?
The PlayStation 2 came out, and I remember how excited I was when I bought Final Fantasy X on release day, and I had never been that excited for a game, like, and it delivered too, which was the best part, because I had like, that's the problem I have with a lot of games, is like you get like super amped, and then like you're so amped you get like kind of disappointed when you get it. But that game I had so much like hype for, and then it just delivered on all ends for me. I was like, this is the best game.
This is kind of a dead meme, but I'm gonna ask it anyway. Best Final Fantasy?
I think my favorite one's like 7 or 6.
Okay.
Like those are the ones that I played the most growing up.
Yeah.
And I could answer with Chrono Trigger if that counts, but
I mean, it's close. It's definitely got elements. I mean, you got a lot of the important people involved, for sure. All right, well, let's get to the important foundational question. And how did you first learn about speedrunning?
I first learned about speedrunning when I was watching YouTube late at night one night, and I saw Runner Guy's Ocarina of Time speedrun from GDQ, the one with the sewing girl. That one. I don't know if you remember that. The one where the sewing girl familiar. Like interrupted it and like told a story, and it was like really awkward. It's kind of infamous.
I don't know.
GDQ
I'm the sort of person who usually like avoids staring into the bright sun of deeply embarrassing moments. So I've probably never watched it.
It's a really good run, but it's memorable because there was that really awkward moment. It's like old GDQ where there was a lot of awkward moments. It was the same year Narcissa did Ocarina Any Percent as well. So 2013 GDQ.
Okay. Oh yeah. I know I definitely caught that one. I just don't. Was this like a long? Like you said of Ocarina of Time, right? So it's probably like
100%.
100%. Yeah. So
it was like a very old route. That was like 4.5 hours or something. Maybe it was like 5. I don't remember how long it was, but that was when Runner Guy was like very active. And then so when I was watching Twitch, like I'd usually watch either fighting games or I'd watch League of Legends stuff. Eventually I was like, I really like this Runner Guy's speedrunning stuff. So I looked at the Ocarina of Time directory, and that's when I saw Clint Stevens stream. And that was way back then. I would just watch him until like, so I'd start, I should be sleeping because I'd have work in the morning, and I'd like boot it up. I was like trying to go to bed. It'd be like 1 o'clock in the morning, and then the run would get going, and I'd be like, oh, well, I got to see him finish the run. And then he would reset, and I was like, okay, well, maybe he'll get another run going. This run's like 4 hours long. So I just continue watching, and then it's 5 o'clock in the morning. I have to work at like 8 in the morning. I'm like, oh crap, what did I do?
Mistakes were made.
Yeah. I mean, like, it's very comfy to like lay in bed and watch speedruns, but it's a trap.
Oh yeah. Oh, 100%. So at what point did you think, because I mean, I assume while you're, you talked about, what was it, 2014 events, right? So you're discovering speedrunning while you're still involved with things like the FGC and things like that. At what point did you think, hey, I could do this myself? I could speedrun the video games.
It was kind of an accident, to be honest. Because I had started streaming myself,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't know what I wanted to stream. I was just streaming random games here and there. I'd moved, and I don't know. I didn't have a PC for gaming and streaming. I was streaming off my PS4. I was watching my friend play Bloodborne, and then I kind of was playing Bloodborne. And then one night, my friend hosted this guy who is speedrunning Bloodborne, and I got really invested in watching him speedrun Bloodborne. I was like, this is really cool. This runner is DJ Natty. He also does Dark Souls with me now. But I watched his Bloodborne all bosses speedrun like every single night. Like for I don't know how long he was grinding it, but it was like how I winded down. Again, late night watching speed.
Yep. It always comes back to it.
And then eventually I was like, I think I want to do that because I really like Bloodborne. And I just talked to him and got to know him, became friends with him. And I just asked him, I was like, hey, how do I start speedrunning Bloodborne? And he's like, oh yeah, it's easy. Here, and he sent me all the stuff. And I was like, all right, here we go. And that's when I did my first speed game, was Bloodborne any percent.
Yeah,
current patch.
I feel like Bloodborne is a fairly popular game. I think that's reasonable to say. So I imagine the resources for a new runner were probably pretty good. Like, would you have?
They're not good.
Oh, they're not good. Oh no,
they're not organized.
So what did you have to work with then, as a first-time runner?
Luckily, my resources were the runners. I just became friends with all the runners, and that's what I did. I watched them run the game. I asked questions. When things went wrong for me, I clip it. I send it to them. They go, oh, just do this. And they're like, oh yeah, by the way, this guide exists. It's like none of the stuff is like collected or like in a very easily accessible place. It's all just scattered. So if I ask enough questions and like talk and involve myself with the right people, they have all the answers I need, and they would just like funnel me all the information I needed at all times. It's just getting it all started was just a mess.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's the sort of, I feel like that sort of thing is like the optimal condition, like when you can have it. Like if you can always just have live human beings who are experts in the field, then by all means, that's a great resource, but it can be difficult to establish those connections.
Well, that's why it was very valuable that I made the friends that I did, because they continue to support me and help me get better at all of my speedrun games, because the nice thing about it is like we all run the same games. Right. So we continue to build off each other, and it's a really good friendship I've made between like a bunch of runners. It's really good.
All right, so I want to get some speed game takes here. We've established now that Bloodborne. Did you when you started running Bloodborne? Did you start with a particular category?
Yeah, any percent current patch.
Okay, yeah. But
I moved on to all bosses later.
And did you feel like all bosses was more your speed in the end, or was any percent?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
Any percent Bloodborne is a struggle. And it is more of a struggle now since they discovered the new skip, which made like your base level fighting one of the hardest bosses already. And it's kind of like that one is a coin flip, because are you familiar with the bosses in Bloodborne?
No, so one of my later questions for you is going to be, for someone who's never played a Souls game, what would be your recommendation for first? We'll get to that question, but
okay,
that should tell you that I don't know anything.
Okay. Well, there's just this boss in that run which is very notorious, and this boss is already hard, and with an upgraded weapon, it's very precise. But then you make it even harder by not upgrading your weapon, and that being optimal. Sadly, they had to time this, and it turns out not leveling up before this boss was faster. It's just harder and very coin flippy. Because you can either save all the time, or you can just cry and lose all the time.
Where does the coin flip come from? Is it just surviving the boss, or like doing damage quickly enough? Okay.
Because in this boss fight, there's like all of these spiders that are in the arena, so like trash mobs. And normally when you level up your weapon, they die in like 2 hits. But since you're on base weapon, it takes so many hits to kill these spiders. And then you're also chucking a consumable like a Molotov across the arena. to keep it safe, because when you enter a later phase in the fight, the boss starts exploding and then shooting missiles at you and erupting the ground, and you pretty much avoid all that when you upgrade your weapon, because you kill it before it gets to do any of that.
Right.
So
Awesome.
that's what makes any percent just hell on earth.
So you have not run the game yet with this new skip?
Nope, I have not learned the new skip. That happened when I moved on to Dark Souls 3.
Just in time.
Conveniently.
I'm sure. Yeah, conveniently. So, of all of the games that you have done speedruns of, I mean, I know I see, 3 games and total 5 different categories in your speedrun profile. I don't know if you've done others. Not everyone always submits all their times, which is fine. What is your favorite speed run, meaning game end category, that you've done out of all the ones that you've done?
Dark Souls 3 all bosses. Like, very, very easily my favorite one I've done. It's getting close with Hollow Knight, though. I'm really a big fan of Hollow Knight right now.
Yeah, people seem to love it. A few weeks back, I had Emre on the podcast. He's very much into Hollow Knight stuff, and they were a lot of fun to talk to about that game. Well, what about the flip side then? And I feel like we already kind of answered the Dark Souls 3 all bosses thing, because you mentioned that was the one that you wanted most for GDQ. Do we already know then the one that is your least favorite speedrun out of all of the speedruns that you've done?
Probably Bloodborne any percent current patch.
It's like we might have just answered this question. Yeah.
Even without the new skip, any percent is, it has like none of the good bosses. Well, it has like one good boss, but yeah, it just like doesn't have any of the fun stuff. Like the DLC of Bloodborne is like one of the probably the best DLC that From Software has made on any of the games. And it just feels wrong to not do the DLC when you play through Bloodborne. Just like it kind of feels kind of wrong in Dark Souls 3, but the base game bosses in Dark Souls 3 are good enough that it doesn't matter to me.
Right. No, that works out. All right. How about a game that you would like to speedrun yourself, but you have not gotten around to it yet, either for time reasons or it just doesn't fit with what you're doing right now?
Nier Automata ending.
So now I have not played that yet myself. My understanding, when you say the speedrun category is ending, does that imply like you have to do multiple playthroughs to get to the ending, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So would be all of those playthroughs to get, and it would be it's not some kind of new game plus category. Correct. Okay.
You just so in Yoko Taro's games, he puts 5 endings in usually or something like that. And the 5th ending, I guess, is like the true ending in Nier Automata. So you play through the game basically 3-ish times, and you get the ending. I don't know if you played it, so I'll keep the spoilers low. You should play it if you haven't.
I'll tell you right now, the main way I do casual stuff, I mean, I hate to include an advertisement for my regular ass streaming in the podcast, but I have like a poll system where I let people vote on games, and Nier Automata has been close to winning a few times, so I imagine within a few months it'll probably enter my life, and we'll see what happens. But that'll
some of my
happen.
friends call Nier Automata a trigger word for me, because as soon as I hear it, I just like, have you played the game? Did I hear Nier?
Have you heard the good news, sir?
2B, A2? Yeah. What? Nier Automata? Like, I do like the obligatory Nier Automata shill post on social media just to remind people that they should play the game. Well, it's my propaganda.
See, I'm surprised. I guess we'll see what the future holds. I mean, obviously, right now you're involved with Hollow Knight, but I mean, if you're such an evangelist, how long is that category? I haven't actually checked this.
It's like a little under 4 hours right now, I think.
So that's a different kind of beast than.
I've never run a category that long.
Yeah.
I want to learn a Hollow Knight category that's like around that time too.
Oh yeah,
but I've never tackled a speedrun that long. The longest speedrun I do is Dark Souls 3 all bosses.
Right, and that's only an hour and a quarter in game time, so I imagine a little longer.
That's like an hour and a half.
Okay. How about your favorite speedrun to watch that you have no plans to run yourself?
Ocarina of Time, 100%. I still watch like the SRM stuff and the no SRM runs. I've been watching ZFG, Glitchy, Axel Larson. They run 100% Ocarina of Time all the time. I also like watching like another runner, Richard Sage, do Ganon, kill the Ganon source requirement stuff, like the old any percent stuff. I also watch a lot of Super Mario 64. I've been suggested to run the game, but I don't know if I want to run the game. It's always been like one of my favorite speedruns to watch. Like, so old Nintendo games, I like watching those speedruns. But I don't have any plans of running them.
No, you don't want to. What about like the blindfolded? You're not gonna.
Oh no, I won't do a blindfolded run. That looks like way too much commitment.
Or the other one that was really good was a few weeks ago. I had Peking Boo on the podcast. Peking Boo, of course, was the runner who did Celeste all Seasides on dance pads, and he has done 16-star Super Mario 64 on dance pads, which is that's interesting. That's a choice was made.
Yeah, I also got really into watching Distortion do granny speedrunning. Have you heard of that?
I've heard of Distortion, but I've not heard of granny speedrunning.
It's this stupid meme game that he started playing, and I just watch him speedrun it, and he just like clips through walls and beats it in like an hour and a minute and 30 seconds.
So it's a game.
Yes, it's like a mobile game that they ported to Steam, and it's really scuffed, but it's really entertaining to watch. And then the speedrun's also entertaining to watch because it has cool skips and stuff. So I watched him do that, and I got really invested in watching Granny, but I'm not going to speedrun it myself.
I mean, sometimes it's like that where when you get into a routine of watching someone do a speedrun, like especially if they have a goal, right? Like they're working towards something, that gets really compelling if you can incorporate it into a part of your routine, like going to sleep.
I bought another one of my friends that game to watch them play it as well. I was in their chat, I was like, hey, you should play Granny. He's like, what the heck is Granny? I was like, I mean, you like Baldi's Basics. Do you know what Baldi's Basics, that stupid game? That's another meme game that guy is really into. So I was like, I feel like Baldi's Basics. I'm sure you'll like Granny. Yeah. And then sure enough, he had work in the morning, but he was up all night playing Grannies.
Have you even played this game casually? Do you own this game?
I was gonna buy it and stream it because it's a good game.
Okay, all right. I was just checking. You don't have to speedrun it, but
I was making my friends play it, and I was like, having fun watching Distortion play it.
I mean, that's good too. I'm glad to hear that too, because I feel like sometimes when you learn about someone and they become really well known for like a particular game or particular set of games, there can be this pressure that like, oh, this is what you do now. You can never, not play a Souls game or not play GTA or whatever. And so I love hearing when someone who is known for something is also doing something else and having fun.
Yeah. I mean, currently right now, I've been trying to do some casual stuff too, because I feel like I spend too much of my energy on just like one thing at a time, like speedrunning, for instance. So I'm trying to like chill a little bit and not burn myself out on like speedrunning, because that's very easy to do, because you can get very motivated, tunnel visions, like, this is my goal, I got to do it, and then you start getting frustrated, and I want to avoid that entirely in the future.
So you mentioned before when I asked you about how you ended up doing your first speed run, you mentioned that your original interest in streaming was not speedrunning. What got you into wanting to stream in the first place? Was it just sort of like an excuse to go through your backlog?
Games.
Oh, it was fighting games. Okay.
Yeah. So it's fighting games, and then funny enough, so I got my first viewership from playing like fighting games. That was like pretty much what got me my affiliate or whatever, was I was playing fighting games. And then someone bought me Dark Souls 3 for PS4 with all the DLC, and I was like, oh sure, I'll play this.
Sure.
And I had a lot of fun playing Dark Souls 3, and I was like, that's cool. And then I moved on to like streaming Breath of the Wild, and I played through Breath of the Wild, and I was like, streaming's kind of fun. I started getting to know other Twitch streamers, and started getting into variety streaming, and then did that, and I still didn't know what I was streaming, and then eventually that's when I met the Bloodborne speedrunners, and then it was all speedrunning from there. Challenge running, speedrunning, and then I just like got swallowed whole by the Souls community. They like sucked me in, and then like that's that everyone in the Souls community knows me and treats me really well now. So
yeah, because I was curious, because you have done other things like FGC, and you had just done general variety streaming before maybe settling more firmly into speedrunning. I wasn't sure what the history was with with getting like Twitch partner and things like that. Like, was that mostly through like speedrunning Dark Souls 3, or?
Yeah,
it was. Okay.
Yeah. So I kind of my stream kind of picked up a little bit playing Bloodborne, but like surprisingly, Bloodborne is still kind of niche compared to Dark Souls. So like I thought this was strange because from like, if you're in the gaming community, like everyone knows, I feel like what Bloodborne is, but then like there's like more casual gamers that kind of game on the side. If I'd say like, hey, I play Bloodborne, they're like, I don't know what that is. And I just say Dark Souls and they go, I know what that is. Oh. Like Dark Souls is more of a common household name than Bloodborne is. And that might be due to Dark Souls being more on like PC and consoles versus, Bloodborne's PS4 exclusive. So I think that's probably why everyone knows what Dark Souls is. And then the meme is, this is the Dark Souls of whatever, you know, eye roll. That's everything is Dark Souls now.
I can only imagine what it must be like to have to live with that meme, like being involved with SpeedSouls. Is there like, are there any sort of like inner SpeedSouls variations on that meme? Because I have to imagine if you get like, I would assume that someone would come into your chat and like bring this up or something like that, and it just sort of, again, it's like bringing up best Final Fantasy in a Final Fantasy speedrunners chat or something.
Well, you can only hear "get good" so many times before you have a knee-jerk reaction to seeing it. Like, ugh. I think I start just grimacing now when I see the term "get good."
Right.
I'm like, just how old is Dark Souls now? Like 11 years, 10 years, something like that.
Yeah, longer if you count Demon Souls, right?
Yeah, and people are still making that joke. And then the one that's like really, really like starting to like get to me is just calling everything Dark Souls. Like, I made this joke about this all the time. It's like if someone sees a dodge roll mechanic, it's automatically a Souls-like game. Just like there's a meme going around that if like a game has outdoor aesthetic, it's a Breath of the Wild clone.
Oh yeah. No, it's like, well, this one it must mean, but like it's funny to call that a meme, but like some people really do operate that way. Like my area of expertise tends to be like a lot of like late 90s games, and I'm into first person shooters and things like that. And the thing that wilds me out every time, I'll find some late 90s like very like exploratory, slow paced sci-fi first person shooter, and I'll be like, what was the critical reception to this back then? And it'll be like, this was a Doom clone. I'm like, what? I guess you do shoot guns in first person, like, sure. Well,
I mean, I'm pretty sure Chex Quest was a Doom clone. Do you remember that game?
Yeah. Although, like, that's on the same engine, though, right?
Yeah.
It's like,
it's
I'll give him that
clone.
one. It's on build engine. I'll accept that. Yeah. That's reasonable.
But I know what you're saying.
Yeah. No, and like another thing too is that like it's especially funny when there is clearly a genre of games that people can't coin a term for, and so they end up having to like depend on the trendsetter as a crutch. Like I'm also involved with GTA stuff, and so open world action games in a city where you can drive cars and stuff get called GTA clones, and some people get real mad about it.
Don't people call like Yakuza a GTA clone, which is very wrong?
Oh, that's very wrong. Yeah, I think it was like a marketing misconception. I think at this point, because of how popular Yakuza's become, like I feel like we're over that, but I also do. I have played a bunch of them, and like I know Yakuza speedrunners, so I'm probably too far into like the scene to like make a judgment on that.
But yeah, like I feel like people see like you running around a city, it must be a GTA clone. Like, I mean, like if it's made by Rockstar, it can be, probably considered a GTA clone. I mean, Red Dead plays like a GTA game, kinda.
Yeah, basically. Is it just it's just with horses instead of cars, right?
You're cowboy instead. Doesn't Bully play like a GTA game too?
Yeah, from what I understand, that it is sort of a similar. I mean, I imagine it's also rare.
Rockstar's just reskinning their games under our noses.
Yeah, it would be nice if they made games again, but
Yeah, that is true. It's GTA 5 forever.
That's it. That's the last game. You don't need another game.
Mm-hmm. They're really pushing the one game. I mean, I think some game companies are pushing that anyway.
Oh,
I mean, very marketable. I mean, look at Riot. Riot pretty much showed that's, small indie company Riot Games just making a killing off their one game that has been out since like 2009 or whatever.
That's still the wildest thing in the world to me. The only time I ever played a MOBA was original Dota in like 2005, 2006. And so like I did that, went to college, came back from college and drinking more than I should have, and suddenly everyone is playing this like Dota lookalike. And I'm like, what is going on? I don't understand. How did this? How did the world change? I looked at it
and I saw Warcraft 3. I was like, this looks like a Warcraft 3 game.
Yep.
Like, no, it's really cool. I was like, what is this? And then I got sucked in for like 2 years.
Yeah, I never really came back to Dota, which is probably for the best from what I'm told. So that's that's how it is. I wanted to ask, actually, I follow up on something else, because you mentioned when you got into Dark Souls 3, Bloodborne and Dark Souls 3, you start getting involved with SpeedSouls. One of the VODs that you had sent to me was you participating in the I guess it was the SpeedSouls All Bosses Relay, and I think you were doing the Dark Souls 3 All Bosses portion of that. So I wanted to ask, like, obviously you run some of the games, so like just by virtue of that, you're familiar with SpeedSouls stuff. Do you get like involved in like the organizational side of that at all? Like, how did you end up being involved in the relay?
Well, I'm part of the Twitch team, SpeedSouls.
Okay.
So, and SpeedSouls is like the epicenter of all things speedrunning involved with all of those games. And that's where like you can find most of your resources. They have a wiki, and then once you're in the Discord, you have like all these people you can communicate with. There's all these like specialized channels for asking questions, posting runs, just setting up races, making friends, looking for people who stream it, clips of dumb things that happen in your speedrun to be like, hey, don't let this happen to you, stuff like that. And then like moving from there, like people knew me from SpeedSouls. I'm on the Twitch team. I recently did commentary for their showcase where 2 runners did a glitchless race, and I commentated for them. And then, of course, you saw the VOD of me participating in the charity marathon for the All Bosses Relay, which was my first marathon, which I was kind of nervous for. But now that that's out of the way and I've done a marathon, that's what prompted me to submit to GDQ.
Not, right?
So yeah, and then like I recently became a SRC verifier, so I'm just very involved in the community and like involved in like helping other runners run, trying to help them like get better at the games, trying to encourage them to beat my time, so it motivates me to run because I got lazy sometimes. I'm like, I like competition. Like I'm a competitive person, so that's what's nice about speedrunning is it like drives me to like compete against myself while also competing with like rivals and peers and having fun gaming and getting replayability out of my game. Like I'd say like I definitely got my money's worth out of Dark Souls and all those games just through speedrunning.
I'm glad I asked the question because I always want to highlight the labor that's done in terms of not only the maintenance of the community resources like the wiki, Discord, but also things like leaderboard moderation. I feel like for whatever reason people are always mad about leaderboards, and everyone needs to chill. Everyone needs to calm down and be patient, and I would appreciate people who are taking the time to verify runs.
Well, people forget that this is voluntary, like free time that people are spending to moderate these leaderboards, and so it's gonna be okay if your run isn't verified 2 days after you posted it. Like they'll get to it.
Yeah, no, for sure. What like? Now, so you said you're one of the verifiers. Is that just for a particular game, or are you like is it on the whole series, or
Dark Souls 3? I primarily verify for Dark Souls 3. So when there's a run in the queue, we pull up the run, make sure that no one's doing any funny business, which most people aren't, and and then you just click yes.
Right.
Make sure
right.
they're following the rules.
Yeah, of course. I do the whatever the normal verification. Do you guys still get a lot of runs at this point? Is it still pretty active?
Oh my god, Dark Souls 3 is insane right now. That queue, I'll go to bed and I'll wake up and there's like 9 runs in queue, right, waiting to be verified. And so they pile up. Like, we just opened up the glitchless category and the floodgates opened up for new runners, and the runners are running all bosses. There's like someone who's running any percent for the first time. There's like all these new runners and old runners that come in. It's hard to keep up with sometimes.
Sure.
But there's enough of us where it's been getting better.
You just mentioned that the community. You said the community just formed recently. Because obviously, for anyone who isn't familiar, glitchless is often a community agreed upon set of terms, because what is and isn't a glitch, some people can be hopelessly annoying about. So everyone has to agree on what they can be. So the story is that this happened pretty recently for Dark Souls 3.
Yes. So there was
difficult?
previously, apparently it took them like a while. I mean, first they had to agree that they were going to make an official category. That was enough of a thing, because of that exact reason, because of like defining what glitches were in the rule set, because it had to be very clear. It couldn't be like too specific, because if it's too specific, then someone's gonna like find a workaround gray area of the rules. So you had to make sure that the wording would encompass like workarounds, you know. Like, so they had to delicately figure out like how to word this so that it would protect itself and like stay within the rules and guidelines. And I think we have a really nice rule set now, and it's like a really nice run. There's some memes about it being, you know, lol glitchless, but like it's the YouTube run, as some people would call it. But even running on a down patch game, the YouTube comments are still upset. So
right, yeah. Does that happen a lot, actually? So, you know, I mean, that's kind of an old-timey meme, is that on some speedrun videos, you'll get people who are like, this isn't really beating the game, or like, you know, that's sort of like a traditional, like someone who's upset about seeing a speedrun kind of commenter. It's funny because like I tend to run like old PC games, so usually what happens is someone's like, this game is running twice as fast as it should. I'm like, yeah, brother, I'm on a Windows 10 computer. Like, what do you want me to do? I can't fix that. But does that happen a lot in SpeedSouls stuff, that people are like, this, you know, you use the cheap strategy, this isn't real Dark Souls 3?
I think for some reason, I don't want to point any fingers particularly, but there's just a lot of people that think that beating Dark Souls 3 with glitches is cheating, and that, you know, it's not. I mean, I don't know why. Like, I feel like other communities, it's not as obnoxious about like glitches, but for some reason, people think that glitches in Dark Souls is like a no thingy. And this is like YouTube, Reddit, and like all this other stuff. Like, there's also like a separate community that like bans glitches in their runs.
Wait,
but
what?
Oh yeah. So okay, I don't want to like stir the pot or anything. I don't want to like, because I'm friends with a lot of these people. But like, there's like no hit runs that are really popular.
Yeah. Okay.
In the streaming.
Sure.
And they are no glitches. So.
Oh.
But like, if you look at glitchless and damageless runs in other communities, they allow glitches and stuff.
Right.
So there's like, that's why I think there's more notoriety for using glitches in the Souls community, because in addition to Reddit, casual play, and like YouTube comment, casual play, and then on top of it, you have like the hitless like popularity that's like very huge on Twitch that say no to glitches. There's a lot of people who don't like glitches in the Souls directory, at the same time as like people who do like traditional speedruns.
Normal, yeah, your base level. Yeah.
For some reason, glitches are a weird topic in Dark Souls games.
Do you think this? So, I mean, we joked earlier about how tiresome the get good meme is, but you know, the basis for that is this sense that like there's this aura of difficulty around the game.
I think it has to do with the get good meme.
Right. It must be one and the same, I feel like, almost.
Yeah. It's I mean, they have their own established rule set, which is good for them. It's really funny because a lot of their rule sets involve like glitchless stuff, right? But like some of the stuff that we've like banned in our glitchless runs are allowed in their no-hit runs that don't have glitches. So it's really funny comparing like what did like the separate communities determine as glitches and like skips and cheating and like all this other stuff. It's just really funny from the outsider perspective, because then like when a speedrunner's doing glitchless and they don't do something that like a no-hitter does, that their definition of glitchless is different, then the like casual viewer is confused. If they watch both, they're like, well, how come you didn't do that? And they're like, oh, it's banned in this. And like, but the other, it's like, it's because we're separate communities.
Are there people in SpeedSouls or the no-hitter communities that have legal backgrounds? Because I have a legal background professionally, and that's all I can think about right now is that we have like competing statutes for what constitutes a glitchless run because of different interpretations. And like there's a whole legal history here now. We could make a textbook. Funny
enough, like one of our top runners in Dark Souls 3 has a law degree.
Oh, there you go.
So,
all right.
If I ever need legal advice, I'll contact him.
For take you to speed court for speed law.
Yeah, speed court.
Oh,
but
man.
like that's the only person I know. Maybe there's someone in the other community that has law experience, but in the speedrun side, we do have someone who has law experience.
All right, well that sounds about right. I can't pretend to be too surprised at this point. Wow, this hole went deeper than I thought it would. I was not prepared for this tangent. I'm glad I asked though. Hopefully, I did not create any community drama.
No. There's like a joke around my stream about causing beef with the hitless community anyway. So it's just funny that this got brought up, and then here I am, fabricating beef again.
Right on the front page of speedrun.com, fabricating beef. So wait, okay. I've heard now no-hitter. I've heard now hitless. Was no-hitter used to describe a person who is a member of the hitless community?
Yeah, yes. No-hitter. Okay. Damageless, challenge runners. There's a lot of different ways that you can play Dark Souls, and there's.
I'm assuming that's probably why it's popular. Runs. I assume, right? You can do so much with the game.
I mean, on YouTube, meme runs are really popular. So, like doing a whole speed run with a really silly weapon, like those always get views and clicks. And then, of course, like from the casual standpoint, doing a whole entire playthrough without taking damage is popular. Just like it's like really easy to understand. It's like really easy to get invested in because it's like, oh, if he takes damage, it's over. It's just like why no hit's also popular. It's like really easy concept to understand. And it's you don't have to listen to a speedrunner yap about the technicalities and nerdy stuff that speedrunners do.
You always have to post the glitchless rules in the description of the YouTube video, of course. Every time. All right, let's go to some different topics. I have some other points that I want to hit while we're here in the formal part of the pod. One thing I always want to get to. Because I think it's important to bring up, much like it's important to talk about the labor of moderation and verification, is also to talk about health stuff. You've been doing gaming for a while, you've done fighting game stuff, you've done speedrun stuff. Do you do anything when it comes to hand health, wrist health, that kind of thing?
Well, funny that you bring that up, because I have been trying my darndest to keep myself from overdoing it with Hollow Knight, because that game destroys my hands. I like kind of have to, like, my fingers kind of get sore from playing Dark Souls, but my whole hands and wrists start aching sometimes when I'm playing Hollow Knight. So I have to make a conscious decision in between resets and in between runs. I'm like, I have to take a break. I have to like remind myself, take a break, Matthew. Like, you have to take a break and stretch your hands. Or like maybe you shouldn't stream for another 2 hours because your thumbs are kind of feeling kind of, tender. But I do like a lot of basic stretches, and I try to stand up like a few times every couple hours, stand up stretch, make sure I'm not sitting for too long. I mean, COVID times we're, sitting at our desk a lot, so we got to make sure that we are standing up and like, make sure we get the circulation to our legs and stuff, in addition to if you're gaming, stretching your wrists and everything. So I try to keep hydrated. I try to make sure I'm stretching my wrists, and even when I'm running Hollow Knight, sometimes I take my thumb off the D-pad and like hold the controller with one hand and like move the analog stick over.
Do you have any particular like resources? You mentioned doing stretches. Is it just like sort of stretches you've learned over time? Is there any particular resource that you would point to as like your go-to?
Well, I just like search on YouTube for like office like carpal tunnel stretches and stuff, because I feel like that'd be like the most applicable stuff. Is just like,
oh yeah, desk
work wrist stretches, desk work neck stretches, like, because it's basically desk work in a sense. Like you can omega lol work, but
I mean, if you have income, it's work at that point, right? I mean, you can file expenses, you gotta watch your taxes,
Well, I mean, if I can't keep my hands and my wrists like working, I can't speedrun. So if I let them deteriorate, then I don't speedrun anymore. So same with like my neck. Like if I don't like stand up and like move my neck around, like I'm gonna just start kinking my whole back, and then I can't sit down, or I want to like spasm while I'm like trying to game,
God, yeah.
And like I'm trying to focus on the game, and if I'm like focusing on like a pinch in my neck or something, then I'm gonna like miss a crucial moment in like the game that I'm playing. So I think it's very important to be conscious of your health, especially like after gaming. Like I honestly want to game forever, so if I can't game, that would really suck.
That would be a problem, right? I mean, I feel like that's the sort of thing, gaming's only been around so long. We've only been around so long, but I feel like you mentioned you did some music stuff earlier. I know I still do some music stuff too. I do piano and things like that. And, you would hear stories of like the pianist who could no longer play, and
that sounds
they
devastating.
get to play a little bit for like a few times a year, because otherwise their hands just crumple, and like, oh yeah, that doesn't sound good at all. I don't want that to happen. So yeah, no, definitely want to avoid that. I would like to keep playing music and keep playing video games.
Yeah, I often think about like all the things that I couldn't do if I couldn't use my hands, and I think my life would be pretty boring if I lost my hands.
What about controller takes? You just mentioned, this is a question I always ask with some games like Hollow Knight, for example, because I think your runs are, at least the ones I found, are on PC. So you do those runs on a controller, I think. What are your favorite and least favorite controllers?
Well, I like the current PlayStation controller, the DualShock 4. I have no issues with it. Some people say it's too big. I used to think the Xbox 360 controller was really nice. But I don't have like a personal preference. I like both the PlayStation, I like both the Xbox 360 controller. I find the Nintendo Pro controller really nice. It's basically an Xbox controller.
It basically is, yeah.
I am not the biggest fan of the original DS that didn't have the second stick. The like Nintendo DS, eventually the 3DS got the
sorry, I think you meant DualShock. I was like, wait a second, there was a DualShock with one stick? No. Okay.
So the 3DS originally came out with one analog stick, and then they later released a second analog stick. The one without the second analog stick, I didn't like controlling with that.
Yeah.
I played Monster Hunter, and you had to move the camera with the stylus while trying to move around. That wasn't very fun.
No.
The 64 is made for a three-handed human. So not too big of a fan of that one, but like I played a lot of Ocarina of Time and it worked just fine. I know some people like the GameCube controller, but I don't know. I think that's kind of an overrated controller.
Right, thank you. The D-pad is trash. And I wish it just had a regular second stick, and I don't like the shoulder buttons,
The notches are really nice on the stick.
Nice. Yeah.
That's true. Like I think it's mostly Smash people that just love that controller too much.
Man, it's funny that you bring up the N64 thing, because you mentioned you still have some of the consoles. I don't know if you've been actively playing N64 stuff, but there's a lot of like third-party N64 controllers that are made now that are reconfigured for two-handed people instead of three-handed people. And it's like, oh, well, this is just like a normal, it doesn't have two sticks, of course, but it has, the A, B, and the C buttons on the right hand. And
I know Hori makes one that's like really popular. The Mario runners tend to switch out for doing Bowser throws with the Hori controller.
Oh, okay. That's
Some of them do, not all of them do. But I guess like spinning it is a lot more comfortable than spinning it on the 64 one. I have nightmares of playing the original Mario Party and spinning the 64 stick until my hands were covered in like a giant blister. Like, because in the original Mario Party, there were those stick rotating games. Oh my god, my hand was just destroyed from playing Mario Party.
No, that was a real hazard. I mean, people think the Wii was the real hazard, but I think that the stick rotating was more of a hazard than the Wii.
Yeah, I'm glad they got rid of that. When I played fighting games, I actually have custom arcade sticks too.
Oh, you did do sticks, okay.
I played with traditional arcade stick, but I have one of those. So, and then I like playing first-person shooters on keyboard mouse on computer. So
now, are you
a versatile gamer? I guess.
Are you big into mechanical keyboards or anything like that? Do you have standards?
I just got my first mechanical keyboard, so I have no opinion.
Is it good so far? I mean, I hope it's good if you got it.
I want to get a new one because there are a few of my keys that double input quite frequently. And, when I'm playing Type Racer, I get slow times because they keep double inputting and I have to like correct it and I get another double input and I get very frustrated. I don't know how to fix it. I heard like cleaning it with like rubbing alcohol and stuff and it should help, but I don't know. We'll see. Maybe I should get some isopropanol and fix it. But I have no idea because this is like my first like high-end PC, so it's all new. It might be just a cheap keyboard. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, you could try cleaning the contacts and checking the switches and everything. It's hard. It's kind of hard to know whether or not it's going to be something you can fix with user servicing like that. But like also, if it's broken, then like the worst thing you're going to be doing is experimenting on it, right? Because like it's not going to be suitable. It's not like you're losing a working keyboard. All right, well, let's. I also wanted to. I was kind of wanted to give you a chance to mention because you do a lot of stuff on YouTube. I did browse your YouTube channel.
Oh yeah.
Delicious things you were up to. I don't have to ask you what is your favorite. How you rank the Souls games. You did that work for me already in a very very talkative, descriptive video that answers all my questions about your ranking of the Souls games. I do want to ask. So I'm going to ask this question now. As someone who has never played a Souls game, where's the place to start? And I'm including any of the FromSoft games, any Sekiro, Bloodborne, any of them.
Well, I think if you want the true experience, you should probably play the first one first.
Okay.
And then just do them in order. You know what? Why don't you play Demon's Souls first?
Play Demon's Souls first. Okay.
And then let's just play the most scuffed one first, so that you have no resentment going into the scuffed ones later. Because my first game was Dark Souls 2, and then I played Dark Souls 3, and then I played Bloodborne. I love all three of those games for different reasons. I went back to Dark Souls 1. I had a bad time.
Now, did you play the original, the Prepare to Die, or
I did remastered. I did remaster.
Okay.
I am interested in speedrunning Dark Souls 1 on Prepare to Die because it has a lot of cool speed tech. But casually, I don't care about that game. And a lot of people, that was like my hottest take. And also, like, I don't think it's a bad game. I like to mess with my crowd because they're Dark Souls people and they, get really gung ho on like. That's another thing. You know how I was talking about like the get good joke?
Yeah.
Another like common thing people always ask is which Dark Souls game is the best? What do you think about Dark Souls 2? And so that might be why I ranked Dark Souls 2 at the best because everyone hates it. And also, I actually had a poor time with Dark Souls 1. And that's the cult following is Dark Souls 1. So of course, calling that game trash caused a bit of controversy.
I mean, sometimes
So
sometimes
just
the truth hurts.
just stirring the pot.
Yeah, no, well, that's fair. I think that's very reasonable. I don't. You won't get any issues from me now. So I guess maybe the follow up question then, what do you think as a speedrunner is the best one to pick up as a speedrun of any in the world of SpeedSouls?
Personally, I'm biased, so I'll say Dark Souls 3.
Okay.
However, Prepare to Die Dark Souls 1 has a great community with a lot of cool tech, with new tech being found all the time, because the tech finders are also runners, so they figure it out and they immediately route it in. They know if it'll be useful or not, which is like what makes the Dark Souls 1 like runners really interesting to follow. So I don't know if you interviewed Catalyst, right?
I was about to mention that a while back I interviewed Catalyst, and he was very good to talk to, for sure.
Yeah. So Cat has been a very good friend of mine, and always supportive, always talking to me. I've been watching his videos. He's got so many good resources. He's very helpful. And then Kamul is one of their top runners. He worked on the newest skip, which killed any percent basically. It turned it into slightly slower force quit. It's a very similar run now, but apparently force quit is cooler to them, I guess. I don't know. I guess force quit has the Great Club, which is different from the Dragon Tooth, so it's slightly different, but they pretty much do the same order of things. But yeah, I think Dark Souls 1 is a really good speed game if you're interested in speedrunning a Dark Souls game. I think I recommend this one for anyone who's scared of really hard skips and glitches to try Dark Souls 2, because there aren't really that game is pretty just game mechanics heavy. Dark Souls 2 doesn't really unless you're talking about any percent where you use the binoculars and run through the game in 15 minutes. That's a different thing. But all bosses, Dark Souls 2, that game is just run and kill everything. That game is an interesting speed run. So if you haven't had a chance to check out the current record holder, Buddha Lee, for Dark Souls 2 all bosses, I recommend checking that out, because that guy has been on a tear massacring that game. So if glitches deter you from runs, then Dark Souls 2 is something I'd recommend. But if you like the whole package, I think Dark Souls 3 is a great place for glitches, boss fights, reactive gameplay. I'm not including Bloodborne, and that's because Bloodborne's on console, which means it's more of a pain to get started and practice. I think Bloodborne's a cool speedrun, but as a newer speedrunner, it's harder, I think, because the resources are, especially practicing that game, is such a hassle, because you have to get your USB stick and you have to save scum. You have to use the PlayStation to overwrite files, and then in order to get all your save states, you have to make, for the most efficient way to practice, you would make 10 different files, and then you would play up to where you want to practice, and then you would save it to your USB. Or you can do it the long way and make your single file, make the save state, take the USB out of your computer, and then put it in, save it to your computer, and then put it back in your PlayStation. It's just, and there's no practice tool that lets you warp around we have in the PC Dark Souls games. So,
really? Yeah, that kind of stuff is so powerful. I most of the games I play don't have that kind of support, but when I learned GTA Vice City, there's here are the saves that are going to put you in this specific spot with these specific resources that you would have during the run, and and you can just practice the mission in the context of the run. And that's how I got to where I am in Hollow Knight. It was the resources for Hollow Knight are so good. The Hollow Knight has learning Hollow Knight has showed me how good speedrunning resources can be. So it kind of makes me want to reapproach our resources in Dark Souls 3 to make them better and more organized, because Hollow Knight is so nice to get into for speedrunning because of just the resources they have on the speedrun.com website and through their Discord. It's crazy. So I think Dark Souls 3 is more organized than Bloodborne, and Dark Souls 1 also has a plentiful amount of resources available to get started as well. And
the wiki gets updated as well, in addition to everything. So if the wiki stays updated on our SpeedSouls site, then learning the game gets that much easier.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Having it all in one place like that is tremendous. I mentioned earlier I watched a bunch of different things. Like for example, I watched your Dark Souls 3 all bosses PB and among other things. And something I noticed was that you are someone who puts on music outside music in the stream during your speed runs. Do you have a general take on that? 'Cause I feel like I'm discovering more and more people have thoughts about different music in the speed run.
Well, I have a kind of a mixed opinion on it, because I don't mind it. Like, I kind of just got sick of hearing the Dark Souls music over and over and over again. Like, I actually really like the soundtrack of Dark Souls 3. I think it's great. However, I just kind of wanted to hear something else. So I found some nice piano covers, which were nice and comfy.
Yeah,
something that like eased my tension when I'm running. It was all about like my personal comfort. I know some runners like separate their audio inputs so that they can listen to their own music and like leave they'll have like no music or in-game music, which I can't stand the cacophony. Like some runners have like
they have both the in-game music, but so the stream can't hear their personal music, but the runner
some
can
runners
hear...
just have them both rocking.
Right.
Like,
okay.
So you can hear their music and the in-game music, and it just sounds yucky.
That's weird.
But and I guess it doesn't bother them. It bothers me, but but like I think it works better for Dark Souls because there's so much empty air in Dark Souls in between boss fights, because the music only comes on during boss fights in like the FromSoft games. So I think that background music actually works decently well for those games. Unlike me playing Hollow Knight, for instance, where the soundtrack's amazing and each area has like a song playing. So I just let the Hollow Knight music rock because I love that soundtrack too. I know some of the top runners on Hollow Knight play their own personal music, and that's fine too. But I just like the music, so I just let it rock.
If I said the term armored core, does that mean anything to you?
Mechs.
Okay, good. No, that's good. That's
Fighting
good.
robots.
All right, good. I just want to. I figured you would have no problem with that. It's just sometimes when I hear someone say the FromSoft games, and I'm like, excuse me, sir, I'd like to have a word. No, I speedrun some of this. But...
Do you know about Kingsfield?
Oh yeah, Kingsfield. Oh yeah, there's a dope speedrunning scene for Kingsfield. I don't know if you ever watched a Kingsfield speedrun.
I haven't watched the speedrun. I watched Lance McDonald, the like debug guy, mess around with it. Are you familiar with Lance McDonald?
No, but
he helped make the 60 FPS Bloodborne mod.
Okay.
And so he streams from soft games, and he did Kingsfield. So I was like watching that guy play that scuffed looking game.
It's a real treat. I don't know, something about that era of gaming is really nostalgic for me. I
personally like classic gaming and how like goofy and weird old games are, like mechanically and like the way they look. There is charm to them. I will agree with you.
yeah, no, it's really. On the music subject, I did want to ask, because I was just curious too. One of the reasons that I noticed it in the first place, because I've already mentioned I've not really played the Souls games, so like, wait a second, PMC, how is it that you could know for sure? And of course, it ended up being the case that some of the music that you were listening to were like Final Fantasy piano covers, among other things. And I was just curious, like, are you familiar with that music specifically, or was this just like a random playlist? Because I'm just curious if I found a fellow appreciator of like the Final Fantasy piano opera, which is not a thing that I feel like a lot of people know exists.
That's my personal playlist.
Okay.
So I handpicked like all the music that's on it.
Good. That's what I want to hear. Excellent.
Yeah, I love piano covers of Final Fantasy. I love the Final Fantasy soundtrack. I mean, I just love Final Fantasy. People have their opinions about Final Fantasies. They argue about which games are like the best. I just love all of them.
Yeah, there's not really a bad one. Like, I can rank them if you want, but like they're all worth playing.
I agree. Like, I just love everything about Final Fantasy, and the music is part of the reason. Yeah. I often think about what makes a good game, and most of the time, in my opinion, if there's a good soundtrack, it's probably a good game. Because I can think of forgettable games, and part of the reason they're forgettable is like they don't have music or there's just bad music. And I think it's something that I think that indie developers could like focus on as part of their like development, because like they'll make cool games, but they'll like not put music in the games, and then I feel like the games are just missing something, you know. And I love indie games. I mean, I love Hollow Knight. And I like there's like Transistor. That game has a sweet soundtrack if you've played Transistor.
I've only ever gotten around to playing Bastion, although I've heard so much about Hades this year in terms of Supergiant games. But
Hades has a great soundtrack. I mean, like the new Doom games that have been coming out, like they have fantastic soundtracks along with stellar gameplay. Like I feel like the soundtracks in video games are sometimes overlooked when it comes to like the quality of a game. Like people won't notice that the soundtrack is like adding that much more to their experience of the game. But maybe it's because they're not music people, but I feel like anyone that's a music person will like immediately like will notice that, hey, this soundtrack's special.
And I feel like too, especially as speedrunners, you also begin to really notice the music, you know, because you'll be listening for it, you know, for cues or things like that. You're like, oh, I will usually be here around this point in the song, and then so you're really
I've heard that. Like people use like song audio cues. Like if you can't turn off the music in game, like you can just use the sound, the like sound audio cues from the music to line stuff up. Someone made fun of me the other day because like there's a boss in Hollow Knight where I kind of like wait in between like cycles, and I like swing my nail to the beat of the song when I'm waiting for it to do stuff. I noticed that.
Yeah, I know. I was like, is that a strat, or are you just doing that for fun?
Oh, I'm just doing it for fun. Like, because there's a boss in Hollow Knight where you just wait for this stupid jellyfish to move around, and I'm just standing there, and I'll just like swing the like nail to the beat of the song while I'm waiting there. But yeah, like the music in games I think is very important. 100%.
All right, so usually what I like to do is as I'm moving towards kind of the back half of the formal part of things is clean up on a few questions, because I feel like we got to a lot of your speed game stuff kind of in a more organic manner, which is good. I feel like, you know, it's been fun. I did want to ask, so Bloodborne was your first one, and that was on PS4, of course. At some point, you made the jump to Dark Souls 3, I assume. What prompted that?
Buying a PC. So yeah, I was speedrunning Bloodborne for a while, and my friend who originally got me into Bloodborne had moved on to Dark Souls 3 all bosses, and I watch him every night. So I'm like, well, dang, this looks fun. But I couldn't play the game because I didn't have a working PC to stream or play the game or to practice the game. So when I got around, I was working a job that got me enough money to save up for a PC, and I built my first ever custom built gaming PC, which was super exciting.
Nice.
And the first thing I did was not get a top end game. I bought very stable, well-functioning Dark Souls 3, so I can dissect it and speedrun it. And that's pretty much what prompted my exit from Bloodborne into Dark Souls, was buying the PC. And like I didn't really look back. Like I don't even like really miss speedrunning Bloodborne. And it's really the quality of life that came with PC speedrunning. Like the practice tool, the save organizer, the practice tool especially. So practicing skips in Bloodborne, you have to like reload, look at the logos, you have to wait for the loading times for PlayStation and everything. We use a logo remover mod on Dark Souls, so whenever we quit out, there's no logo that we have to sit through. We just instantly go back in. So there's that, and on top of it, we have this tool that when we're practicing skips, we can just reset our position so we can immediately efficiently set up the skip again. So we just do that. I can practice skips and get my precision down until I can just hit it 99% of the time is the target. So I just like will grind out a tiny specific thing over and over again because I can reset my position. And I think that's just like the best quality of life, is being able to work on all these precise things with all these really nice tools. So I don't look back.
Yeah, no, that's hard to go back to, because it's just like the idea of, being able to practice a single measure rather than always having to play the full song just to practice the single measure or something.
Yeah. Exactly. And like you can also turn off damage for boss fights. So if I'm trying to learn the way a boss functions, I don't want to like reload the fight because I died. I want to just like, oh, I got hit there. Why did I get hit there? Like, and like analyze like there are certain bosses in Dark Souls 3 where very specific positioning will make just attacks miss you. And so the way stamina works in that game, you don't want to roll. If you can not roll, it'll recharge your stamina so faster, and stamina lets you attack. And then the more you attack, the more your damage uptime is, and that's what makes the bosses go faster. So if you know how to position yourself that you won't get hit without rolling, that's what you're trying to do at all times. And you get to practice that by the practice tools that we have in Dark Souls to like really learn how to dismantle bosses in that game, which again is why I think it's like the best speed game.
So if I, let's say I'm watching a future, you get Dark Souls 3 all bosses in the GDQ. What's the highlight of the run? What's the thing you're gonna be the most proud to show and that's gonna wow people the most?
Wilhelm skip. Hey, are you familiar with that skip?
No, I'm not. Please enlighten me.
So there's the DLC 1 segment of the run. There's this guy named Wilhelm, which is a NPC mini boss, and he plagued runners for a long time because the NPC like fights have like really input reading AI that dodge rolls everything, and they like will be impossible to hit, and they just eat your time, and they're just like a big roadblock. Well, our good friend Distortion 2 found a skip that, with the help of some other people that hunt for glitches in the game, that creates this like really crazy spot to do what's called a death cam.
Okay.
Which puts the game in a state where the game like puts you in a camera position there where you would usually die, but you avoid the kill box, so you're still alive, and it kind of gives you. People make the joke, they call it GTA Souls. That's like
it's this top-down camera. Because I remember seeing this. I think when I watched some of Kata's runs, at least too. Yeah,
so
there.
This one is crazy. This skip is like one of the hardest death cam skips out of all the Dark Souls games, because you get this death cam. You have to run up to get a bonfire really quick because you're going to warp to it later. You have to dodge these massive crabs that will hit you for a lot of damage. You have to dodge these archers that shoot arrows at you in cycles, and these arrows explode, so you have to be aware of when they'll explode. And then you also have to maneuver up these like skinny tree branches so that you can while having tank controls. Like, you remember like old Capcom games where you move like a tank? Yeah. So when you're in this death cam position, you move like a tank, and you're climbing up this tree while avoiding these archers that are shooting at you. And at the very top of the skip, one of the archers sometimes pulls out a hammer that'll kill you immediately. And then you also have to trust your movement to position yourself on the final branch, and then move in an arcing circle, and then find your way to a ladder to climb up. And then it's all so you can skip this NPC fight and save like a minute and a half or something.
Good. No, that's worth it, right?
It is very worth it, because it's a very consistent skip if you are mechanically inclined. But it basically like skips you into the Frida boss fight without having to go pull the lever in the cathedral. But it's like this very long, drawn out, scary looking, mechanically involved skip, and it's very impressive to look at.
Yeah, no, I mean, the top-down camera stuff is always really neat. I think anytime you trick a game into giving you like the wrong camera, so you can do a kind of, I mean, like I guess it's like Dead Man Walking adjacent kind of thing, is very, very funny.
Well, it stops loading assets at a certain distance, and that's why you can skip through doors, because like the game's like, oh, he should die, so we don't need to load assets at a certain point.
Why have a door? We don't need a door.
And if you just keep running, and running, you'll just fall off and die because the map will no longer exist out there.
Interesting.
And if you fall for a certain amount of time, like the game says, "Oh yeah, you're dead."
yeah. That's. I guess that's pretty reasonable. It's not like the. I always love it when there are certain games that wouldn't check how long you've been falling, and then they just loop you around to the top. That's always that's a classic of gaming. So another question. Okay, so we've talked for a lot about Bloodborne and Dark Souls 3. You mentioned a little bit Hollow Knight. It seems like that's your current project. I noticed by browsing your YouTube, I found a fresher PB than what is on your speedrun.com page. I assume that's just, I don't know if you submitted that run or if it's just not verified yet. Again, that's okay. Verification can take time.
Yeah. I think it's a very popular speedrun, so I'm sure their verifiers are very busy.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
They're doing like the all skills tournament right now for Hollow Knight. Okay. So that's keeping them busy. So there's a lot of people probably submitting all skills runs.
Yeah.
So I imagine that their verifiers are swamped right now.
Very reasonable, for sure. But I wanted to ask, what prompted you to get over to Hollow Knight? Because, I mean, certainly Dark Souls 3 from Bloodborne, I think a lot of people are like, SpeedSouls, it's right there. You got a PC. That's what, you want a better quality of life. Go to Dark Souls 3. How about Hollow Knight? How did that come about?
Well, I casually played the game, and I fell in love with the movement into that game. Have you played that game yourself? I
have not.
Well, the movement in that game reminded me a lot of Mega Man X. And I grew up on playing that Mega Man X on Super Nintendo, because there's dashing that you do constantly in Hollow Knight, and there's wall jumping, and it immediately thought in my brain, hey, this is like playing Mega Man X. I mean, you could say the nail is playing Zero, with his laser sword or whatever. Sure, whatever. But people say it's like a Metroidvania or something. That's fine too. But the movement itself just reminded me of playing Mega Man, and I really liked that. And so that's something that stuck out to me. So I was playing the game casually, and I stumbled across a Hollow Knight 106% speedrunner, Axe2U, and I just watched him every night when he was grinding 106%. Again, late night watching speedruns.
Yep.
And I started becoming friends with him, and I was thinking to myself, this game looks fun to speedrun. And so I just kept hanging around those speedrunners and watching them. And then my other friend who speedrun Dark Souls 3 with me, he started speedrun. All my friends that were speedrunning Dark Souls 3 decided to speedrun Hollow Knight.
Oh, well, there you go. That seems like
here
a bandwagon to me, yeah.
I like speedrunning the same games my friends speedrun. It's a lot of fun for us.
Oh yeah, that's a ton of, because it's too that it gives you a way to learn, it gives you a way to compete, it gives you it gives you just so much. We already talked about the value of having live resources, and certainly if they're your friends, then even better.
Well, yeah, because it's easier to approach your friends and be like, hey, and then you can bounce ideas off, and then you can talk crap to each other too. It's like, hey, why do you do that slow thing? And then right now I have kind of a small rivalry with my friend DJ Natty. We're trying to get 34 times in Hollow Knight without doing one of the big skips that they do in the category, because we have this mindset of not adding hard stuff until we have to. And so there's a lot of that attitude in a lot of speedrunning. So we like to show off how much you can get done with quote unquote slower strats, Yeah. They are literally slower strats, but they're safer strats.
Right. I think that's a great thing. And I forget, maybe if it's one of those things where I watch a lot of footage before I prepare. So at this point in the interview, I'm like, did you say it during the interview, or did I just hear it before? But the idea that when you're learning a game, you do not have to learn all of the record strats immediately. In fact, for some games, please don't do that. It's going to drive you away from the game.
Yep. I say this over and over and over again to any new runner that's like, hey, I want to speedrun this game. Then they're like, I want to learn this skip. I'm like, please don't. You do not want to do that. I know this looks cool and this looks fun right now. I'm running up this tree branch in a death cam. Don't do that right away. I am the big advocate for doing safe strats until you get to a point where you're consistent enough where you can do the risky strats. Because I think with speedrunning, you should learn to value your consistency before you try to do stuff that's going to reset your run, because being consistent when it matters is going to be more important than hitting a skip, because you can hit a skip, but if you're going to lose a minute to being unable to get through a section of the game, then like it doesn't even matter that you did the skip, you know? So that's why I always say just do as many runs as possible, and you're going to be that much better for when you add the hard stuff later.
Right. Have as few dice rolls as possible. You know, you want to avoid that.
Yeah, finishing runs is going to be way more important than flexing that you can do a hard skip.
Now, with Hollow Knight, you mentioned you have a goal right now of trying to get down to a 34-minute, no major glitches time without adding in some hard stuff. You did mention earlier, I think, in this podcast that you had thought about a substantially longer category of Hollow Knight.
Yes.
So what category is that? And then also, do you have any other thoughts about potential future Hollow Knight plans?
Well, I originally started running Hollow Knight with the desire to run the 106% category, which some people may be confused as why someone would run 106 versus 112, because the game right now, like the max percentage is 112 with all the pantheons, but it's on current patch, which is not the speedrun patch. So they separated two different categories for 100 like complete playthroughs. There's 106, which you can play on the patch that has all the cool speed tech. Then they have 112, which is on current patch. I originally got interested in Hollow Knight speedrunning watching 106, so I kind of have some bias. I think that's a really cool speedrun, and like that was my introduction to Hollow Knight speedrunning, so I think that's part of the reason why I want to learn that run, is because it's really cool, and it like is complete. Like I like doing speedruns that complete like the whole game, and that's pretty much it, like, but with all the cool speed tech. So I think 106 is great, and that's why I want to learn that. And it would literally be the longest speedrun I would ever do.
Right. You're not going to be a Final Fantasy speedrunner.
At one point I thought about learning FF7, and that game is
that's not that game doesn't kid around.
Goodness. No, especially with the optimal stuff they do in that game. Like, I know you don't, like, we just talked about not doing optimal stuff, but have you seen how you set up Cosmo Canyon skip in that game?
Oh, I have not really watched too much Final Fantasy VII speedrunning since Cosmo Canyon skip really became a thing. Like, I remember seeing some people like post about it, like, holy crap, Cosmo Canyon skip, but no, I have not. So I can only imagine the horror.
Yeah. So the reason that's so terrifying is because apparently the way you set it up is going to be very dependent on the amount of time it takes you to get there. So you have to create your own custom movement to create battle seeds. Which, because like apparently the way that the battle system works in that is like the game rolls seeds based on the timer. Okay. So the way you set up your movement is based on the timer. So depending on the runner, they have to get there at a certain time or they reset. And then on top of it, they have to do very specific movements based on the timer, and they have to. It's just a mess. It's nothing that I would want to do.
Yeah. All right, well, let's start winding down the formal part of the script, folks. If you are here, and I think I've seen some folks giving some emotes of yours here in the chat. If you want to have questions, some live Q&A based on what we've been talking about, or anything really. Get those ready. One of the things I do as a part of this interview series is I get a question from my previous guest for my next guest and kind of link them together. So my previous guest, Tainted Tally, had this question for you, which was, for the game that you are actively running, so let's say Hollow Knight right now, would you have a particular question or comment for the developers? If you could get, is it Team Cherry? Is that the name of it? Yeah. If you could I have to ask them a question or get an answer, from them. What would be your question or comment for Team Cherry?
Why does the game drop my inputs sometimes? Am I really that bad at execution, or is the game actually dropping my inputs?
Will we ever know? I mean, I guess we'll...
Why is it that when a certain enemy touches the ceiling, it cancels my jump momentum.
That sounds weird.
Yeah, there's some really questionable coding, and I think it's just indie game things.
Sure.
But I hear that with their next game, they have like a more refined team. It's not going to be just 3 guys this time around, so I'm sure the coding will be cross your fingers, a little more sensible.
That does mean that I do need from you a question for my next guest. Now, I'm not going to tell you who it is right away. You know they're going to be a speedrunner. Question does not have to be about speedrunning. I've had all sorts of ridiculous questions about food, music, whatever. If you could give a question to a speedrunner who I will be talking to on this podcast next week, what would that question be?
Let me think about this.
Yeah, take a second.
I could ask a question that's that everyone would laugh at me about, but I'm thinking if I want to ask that question.
I mean, that's the risk you're going to take. Look, if it's going to be like that, I'll throw you under the bus. I'm not going to think too much about it. You're like, this person, I'm not taking responsibility for this.
Okay, well, I'll just ask the question I ask everyone is,
okay.
Have you played Nier Automata, and did you get through all endings?
Okay, that's all right. I'm gonna write this down right now. Now, so as is usually my thing, what I like to do is I will spoil for you who the guest will be. It's funny because this person I knew is FGC. I just Discord DM'd you the name, so I knew this person.
Really?
FGC. Yes, that's next week. So, so I guess we'll find out.
Which game do they play in FGC? I've seen that name like float around before.
So, I mean, if you Google the name, you'll find like VODs of them playing Marvel vs. Capcom 3 at like CEO and stuff.
Oh, a Marvel player.
Yeah,
okay.
I think he's done other stuff too. Like, I mean, I think he's been involved with it forever. But like, I remember watching him play Marvel when I watched tournaments.
It would make sense to me that a Marvel player would love speedrunning because the tech in that game is just absolutely bananas.
Yeah, no, for sure. What about, you might have already answered this question partially, future games that you are excited to play when they come out?
Nier Replicant remake.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm gonna buy that immediately when it comes out. I don't often buy games on release, but that's one I'm gonna be playing.
Did you play the original version of those games?
No, I actually played I played Drakengard when I was like 11 years old, and that game was hard. And apparently it's like a really, really good game story-wise. It's just like my prepubescent brain couldn't wrap my head around the political nature and the apparently the timer and Dynasty Warriors style gameplay it had. But apparently it's really good, so I'd like to go back and play it. But I never played like Drakengard 3, which I hear is like a pretty close spiritual successor, and then the original Nier I didn't get a chance to play, which I guess the Western version of that game was pretty different from the Japan release. Well, not pretty different, just kind of different. Like the characters were slightly altered.
Right, slightly altered. Yeah.
And then I guess the Nier Replicant remake version is going to be the Japanese version of that game, brought over to the Western crowd, and then having more mechanics that are in line with Nier Automata. So I'm really excited to see how the game turns out.
Yeah, no, I hope it turns out just what people want and need right now. Any others that you I feel like I know we did talk about the Nier remake. I was thinking of it's called Swan Song. Is that the second Hollow Knight game? Or
Silk
Song, not Swan Song.
That's like out of sight, out of mind for me right now. I have this running joke in my brain about 2 games that don't exist, and that's Elden Ring and Silk Song.
Oh yeah, I guess Elden Ring, right? That's you can imagine. I mean, just imagine me. I'm like, whenever I hear FromSoft thinking about a new game, I'm like, Armored Core. I just whisper it and think about it. But we'll see. Hopefully, this game's all get
gone
released.
Forever. Yeah. But I mean, maybe it'll surprise you. Who knows? I kind of want to play Resident Evil 8, but I have to play Resident Evil 7 first because I didn't play that one. I'm a pretty big fan of like the remakes that they came out with, like the Resident Evil 2 remake and 3. I guess people complain about the length of 3, but I guess the original was short too, so it's like, I guess. But I think RE8's going to be good. I'm very excited to see what they do with Final Fantasy 16 because that looks interesting. They're going back to the fantasy roots versus the kind of mixed future tech whatever route that they've been doing. So
I feel like they come and go with
see.
that. Like 7 has some of that too. I think the sort of working in sci-fi elements, and 8, and then 9 was more fantasy. You know,
starting from like 7 onward, they kind of just like mixed like the sci-fi fantasy stuff in, and I guess 16 is supposed to be more like 4 and 6, where it's like more rooted in fantasy.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
And you could argue that 6 was like a steampunk game, but.
Yeah, a little bit of. I mean, like Figaro Castle moves, right? That's steampunk.
Yeah, and there's mechs. There's literal mechs.
Yep, that's the opening. The Magitech armor. Yep, classic.
Yeah. So
how about
it's a shrug?
Yeah. Who, if you could put more eyeballs on someone in the community, who would that be? Who would you give shout outs to as in terms of people to watch?
Oh, and for speedrunning Dark Souls 3?
Or speedrunning anything. It doesn't have to be Dark Souls 3.
I would say put more eyes on like Fudge Cow, DJ Natty, Axe2U. Those are like the 3 runners I watch the most these days. For Hollow Knight, Axe2U does Hollow Knight. DJ Natty is the person who pretty much got me into speedrunning. And he speedruns, though he's the one that speedruns Hollow Knight, Bloodborne, Dark Souls 3, all in the ones with me. Fudge Cow is someone that I'm very close with that it does a lot for Dark Souls 3. And the other one is actually the record holder of Dark Souls 3, IR Fool. When that guy dedicates himself to speedrunning, like that guy just demolishes what he puts his mind to. So he's a really fun runner to watch. Doesn't use a mic, just speedrun. Just
plays the game. Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, that's fair. Like, it's true that speedrunning doesn't require you to do the streaming stuff to commentary.
It doesn't. Siglemic like originally made Super Mario 64 popular, and he was just streaming gameplay. Yeah, it
was a big mystery at GDQ seeing what Siglemic looks like. I remember that. That was a big moment in speedrun, early Twitch speedrun history, I should say.
I mean, and like Fool's like the same way. He doesn't use a cam, doesn't use a mic. He just plays Dark Souls 3 and pulls an audience, and we just kind of entertain ourselves in his chat, and then he shakes his head at us.
That is a good way to put how some of those streams work, because I definitely can remember like the example of Siglemic when Siglemic would get on the ice slide, and suddenly the chat would just flood with numbers trying to guess what the race time would be. Yeah, like 12.7, and that was definitely.
And that's a Super Mario 64 meme that persists today. People still do that for whenever the runners do the slide. They always guess the numbers. That's one of the things that makes it a good speed game. It's just it's very entertaining to watch, regardless of like how entertaining the streamer is themselves. Like the game is just fun to watch.
Yep. No, people love it, and they know the ritual. They do all the moves by heart, so to speak. Where should people be looking for your stuff?
Well, they can always watch me on Twitch. I stream live like 4 to 5 nights a week. So, I do all my speed runs, casual playthroughs, the dumb memery that I do sometimes. I'll do like one-off bits to just mess with my chat in between speed runs. And most of my stuff I run through an editor and put it on YouTube, or I just post raw footage on YouTube. And then I tweet whatever's on my mind on Twitter.
As one should.
Within reason, of course. I monitor my I scan my own personal likes. I make sure I don't like anything too saucy.
All right. Well, in that case, I mean, the links are in the chat if you're here with us live. If you're listening to this after the fact on YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, you can check the description to get all of the links for the Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube. We'll be starting the live Q&A in just a second. But before we do that, first off, again, thank you so much for giving me all this time.
Yeah, thank you so much for contacting me and having me on. This has been a really fun time talking about this. It's something I'm just like really passionate about, so it's easy to talk about.
No, I can tell you. Time has flown by, which is always a good sign, I think, for these kinds of discussions. But before we get to the Q&A, I do need from you. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use a cheesy catchphrase, like "Let's boost on out of here," and when I say that, I want you to give me your best rocket engine noise.
Rocket engine noise?
Yeah. Like you're just pretending to be a rocket engine.
Okay.
All right, excellent. Folks, thank you so much for listening. Let's boost on out of here.
Like that?
Yes, you killed it. You did it. Excellent. All right, good. I love it every time. All right. Folks, if you got questions, now is the time to throw them in. We are still on the front page of speedrun.com for a good another 20 minutes. So hopefully Albert is a Albert is someone who I know through running obscure games who without fail every week comes in with like a different obscure game, be like, hey, and it's always a different one. Like, I want to be clear here, Albert's not coming in with the same game. He's coming in with a different game, specific to whatever the guest is doing. So I don't know if this is the
I can already tell by the thumbnail of this video that this game looks good. I can already tell that this looks good.
Wait, Albert, is this the one with the wild, like, backwards triple jump that gets you out of bounds? I think I've seen footage of this one before.
This guy's like hucking throwing knives at a tree with an eyeball that's also hucking things back when there's like floating shell. There's a lot to be digested in whatever that's like.
Yeah. It's late 90s PC game. There's probably weird things going on. All right. The Outplay Boy asks, who do you play in Mario Kart and Mario Party?
That's a very interesting question because I have specific answers based on the games. If it's modern day, okay, they added my favorite Nintendo princess. So Rosalina, I would play in any modern day game that has Rosalina. If it's an older game, in 64 I played Bowser. So in Super Mario Kart, I played Koopa Trooper, and in the old Mario Party games, I don't even know who I played in the original Mario Party. I think I picked like Yoshi or something, maybe Toad. Yeah, but like later on when they added more characters, like and eventually Rosalina, I was like, oh yeah, Rosalina. I love Rosalina. Player in Smash, player in Mario Kart, player in Mario Party, any game Rosalina's in. That's the one I go with now.
Rosalina is a good character design. Although I don't know, I feel like Rosalina in Smash, the little does it a Starbit have a name? I forget if it has a name. Luma. Sorry. All right, that shows you how much
it's very cheap.
Very cheap. Yeah, no. I look. I think when I've not played Smash too much, but I think my mains were like Villager and Richter, which should tell you everything you need to know about my personality.
You like staying far away and throwing stuff?
Yes.
Yeah.
No, and
it's a viable strategy, so I commend you on it.
Yeah.
So
Richter was fun. The only problem was I would totally SD all the time, but it was still fun with throwing axes, and people never see the axe coming.
Because it just floats in the air and you forget about it. I know how that works. I know. I've been hit by that sneaky axe.
Yeah, it's a good time.
But like, no, some people forget about Luma when you're playing Rosalina. It's like, oh yeah, the star thing can kill you.
Yeah, no, it's a real good time. I have that question at the end about who you want to shout out. Do you feel like some of those people? It sounds like maybe Ira Full, maybe not podcast guest material. Do you feel like any of those folks would be into potential OverBoost material? I'm just curious if you have a recommendation for talkative types.
I think Fudge Cow would be good, because he uses cam. Everybody else I listed I don't know if it matters if they have cam or not when you do this.
I mean, I like to do it because I feel like it's like an interview with camera at this point.
Yeah.
I usually like the cam. I don't know. If I really wanted someone, I'd be like, whatever. I remember a while back, actually, around the time I started using camera for these interviews, I actually got, I don't know if you know Minecraft speedrunners at all, but I was like, let me shoot my shot, and I contacted Illumina, and Illumina was like, sure. And then I was like, okay, I'm doing the interview with Cam, and then like showed like it was like, oh, I don't have my cam ready. Like a few days later, I was like, all right, whatever, we're just gonna do it anyway. I'm just gonna put a static image up. Like I don't care. So, but
yeah, I've been in voice call with Fool, and I've never heard his voice because he doesn't use a mic. So I don't know if he would be able to. I've never seen his face. There's a joke that he is the artist Base Hunter. He's from Sweden. But I've never heard his voice, even though I've been in voice calls. He just doesn't use mic. So I don't know if he'd be a podcast person.
Yeah, probably not, right?
Natty, I think, would be great. He just doesn't have a cam. But I think he'd be great to interview. And it'd be funny, and I would laugh at him. And let's see. I think I don't know if you're unfamiliar with Nier Automata speedrunning. I think the runner Ame would be a fun person for you to interview because he's an interesting guy, and Nier Automata running is cool.
Yeah, no, I would definitely be. Okay, there you go. I was like, how is that spelled?
I don't know if Ame has a cam,
okay.
But he does talk, and he's a funny guy.
Yeah.
Fudge Cow does have a cam, so I think he'd be interesting to talk to, and he's got a lot to say, and he's a funny guy.
Awesome. No,
and he does Dark Souls 3.
Yeah, no, I at this point, one of the reasons I started this project was just because I knew there were speedrun interview podcasts out there that had come and gone, but I felt like they always interviewed like the same 10 people, and some of those 10 people are good. Like, don't get me wrong, those 10 people are fine, but like,
what is it, like Trihex and
it's like Trihex, Author Blues, like Do Whatever, like Simply, or like the people like that, like Mario 64 runners, and again, they're fine. But like I had been watching horror runners, and like no one's interviewing horror runners for some reason, which is weird to me.
Speaking of that, I know who you could contact. Do you know who Pessimism is?
Oh yeah, I know who Pessimism. Oh yeah, I think I've seen that name around.
You should contact Pessimism because he's like so phenomenal at every Resident Evil game, and he has like a lot to talk about. And I know for sure that he has a cam, and like I think he'd be great to interview.
That's a good one. Yeah, no, but that's what I'm saying. Like there's a bunch of like Waifu, Maxi Lobes, Enigma, like tons of people I've now talked to. And I'm like,
I know Waifu.
Why doesn't anyone talk to these people? And so it's been really good.
Do you know who Jabbo is?
Oh yeah, no, I've talked to Jabbo. Yeah. Actually,
I've talked to Jabbo.
Yeah. I was actually back to back with Waifu's interview. I didn't even know they knew each other, and I did the thing with the interview question, and Jabbo was like, "Oh, I know who that is." So
yeah.
funny.
So you did interview Jabbo?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was making sure because Jabbo, I think, would be perfect for a podcast.
No, Jabbo's
so if you already did Jabbo, then and you already did Waifu, I know them.
Yep. No, they're a lot of fun to talk to. I had the opportunity to meet Waifu when I did it was GDQX 2019 with TwitchCon 2019. So that was a lot of fun. It was fun to I was so psyched to travel more and meet people at events after that. And then 2020 came, so
Yeah. Have you contacted like Distortion at all? I
have not contacted Distortion. Yeah, I should probably I feel like I want to say other people might have gotten to Distortion before me. I try not to. Like, I'll usually do like a Twitter search through somebody's feed to be like, have they been on a podcast recently? I don't want to like bother.
How about like Larksa? Do you know who Larksa is?
I do know who Larksa. Yeah. No, I don't know if I reached out to Larksa yet, but
I think that would be a good one as well. Because she's also like very involved in speedrunning. She did like Little Nightmares. I think Kwitty 23. If you know who Kwitty is,
I've not heard of no.
Kwitty is like on and off with speedruns, but he also does like so much, like in forms of challenge running and just like variety streaming. Like he was speedrunning Little Nightmares. He was speedrunning Demon Souls recently. He like pretty much pioneered Blood Level 4 Bloodborne speedrunning. Like if you're not familiar with Blood Level 4 Bloodborne speedrunning, that's like base level like no level ups, just speed running the game with just base level all the way through. And it was pretty much like pioneered by K Witty.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's what got his start on Twitch was him speedrunning Bloodborne and him playing Bloodborne. Like that's what got him started, and that's what pretty much put his channel on the map. And then he moved on to other things and grew his channel elsewhere. But like he started speedrunning Little Nightmares too. And so he's still like speedrunning is a part of his thing. So I think it'd be interesting to interview K Witty 23.
I think anytime too when you have that kind of the mix of things, like you could tell I was delighted about the FGC thing, because I think it's always interesting to get the perspective of people who've like come from rhythm games, people who've dance pads, or people come from FGC, or I've talked about the overlap of architecture in speedrunning, so I've gotten a good array of things as well. Folks, if you have questions, feel free to throw them in. I think we still have a few minutes. Yeah, we still got another minute or two. Matt, if you have a raid target for us to hit in a few minutes, I would be happy to do that.
I could take a look here.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Is there like a current speedrunner that you're watching right now that you watch all the time?
Is there someone speedrunning right now that I watch?
No, I mean just in general. I'm curious, like what kind of speedruns you watch? Because I always like to find new stuff to watch.
Yeah, so I would say the if I were to advertise someone, it would probably be Tapioca. Twitch.tv/Tapioca does speedruns of various Yakuza series games and also some extreme sports games. He's a fellow New Jersey resident who I'm a big fan of, and not too well. Like, I think a lot of people know Froob more for Yakuza speedrunning, but Tapioca I think is also really, really good to watch.
Tapioca, is that how you spell it in chat?
Just the normal word Tapioca.
Is there a symbol of penguin?
Yes, that's that. Yep.
Okay, cool. Yakuza speedrunner.
And then the other one I'd probably recommend is I'm gonna say it, and I'm gonna type it in, and you're gonna recognize immediately why I typed it in, is because their name is Bullets.
Yeah.
Because like is part of the it is Bullets. This person does a ton of indie games. Like they're working on a 3D platformer called Mail Mole right now. Which is really neat. And he's like the sort of person who just gets 2 runs in the GDQ, and it's like they're games you never heard of, but they're really cool to watch. And so I'm definitely a fan. Like these are people who often stream in like the afternoon for my workday, so it might be like on the early side for you, because you're farther out west.
Probably because I am in Hawaii, and I think 6 hours. Yeah. 6 hours behind you. So if it's afternoon for you, it's definitely in the morning time.
Right.
But sometimes I am up in the early morning time.
Sure. Yeah.
I have a very irregular sleep schedule.
All right. So anyway, it looks like we have passed 10:30. Did you have somewhere for us to go?
Well, I think I might actually.
Okay.
I might have a Dark Souls 3 speedrunner.
Excellent. It's very on topic.
Let me see here. Yeah, I think that would probably be the best one.
Yeah, just put it in the DM or in chat or wherever, and I can grab it.
Yeah, I'm just making sure he's still active.
Yeah, that's always a thing too. That's
I got hit with the ad.
The age-old trial of, is this person actually still going?
Okay, so this guy has been. This is one of the. He's one of the reasons we have Dark Souls 3 glitchless, because he kept asking us in the SpeedSouls Discord. He's like, "Hey, I've been running glitchless. Is there an official glitchless category?" And like, he's part of the reason why we kind of worked together, because he was one of the people that was running glitchless before we had a category, which we recommended. We were like, "Hey, I want to run glitches." So like, go ahead.
Yeah, just do it. Make runs, right? Like, why not?
Yeah, it's like, if there's enough community interest, we'll make an official category. So this guy's a really good guy, so I think it'd be a perfect raid target.
Really good. All right, so I've got that raid queued up. I'm gonna let you go. Thank you again so much for all the time. This is really a lot of fun.
Thank you for having me.
All right, excellent. Take care.
See ya.